Hello and welcome. We are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And today we have Akila Davis, who is the Motivational Mastery Mentor. And we're going to be talking about motivational maps. We're going to learn all about them. So one of the very cool things about Akila is that she is the only person in North America that is certified to certify motivational map practitioners. Say that 3 times fast. Akila, welcome.
Thank you very much, Marie. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to this.
I am too. I'm really excited about this. And I think to get started, the big question that I think a lot of people have that registered for this and then might be watching this later on as a replay is that what is motivational maps?
I love that question because to me, if I answered it as to exactly what it is, it would be like answering the question, what is the sun? And I could tell you that the sun is the only star in our galaxy. It's a ball of gas, and it's 92% of the mass in our galaxy. And all of that would be true, but it doesn't tell you the impact that the sun have on us, on the earth. Because without the sun, Earth would be just a chunk of rock floating in space. We wouldn't have seasons. We wouldn't have trees. We wouldn't be who we are without it. So to answer your question, yes, I'll give you the clinical definition of motivational maps, and then I'll tell you some of its impact, okay?
Fair.
Yeah. Motivational map is a self-assessment, but it is not a psychometric self-assessment. And what a psychometric is that's the ones like DISCs, and 98% of the assessments out there are psychometrics.
You mean like Kolbe, DISC, predictive index?
Yeah, most of those. I'm not sure about Kolbe because I think that's a cognitive, but just about all the others you name. Even the ones that says they're motivational, they give you motivational information. What they actually do is they're psychometrics, and then they take the behaviors and infers motivation from that. And that is one of the coolest things about motivational maps is that it doesn't infer, it uncovers motivation. And that is why 95% of the people who have taken it have validated that, yes, it accurately describes their motivations. Now, I said I'll tell you some of the impact.
Yes, please.
Motivation maps, how it impacts organizations. It impacts organizations to help them hire better, to help them onboard better, to help them manage better. So it increases productivity. It has a huge impact on engagement and culture. And you know what that means to corporations.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for our practitioners, one of the things I love about it is it helps them to stand out. Because to the best of my knowledge, and I am a researcher, there is no other assessment like motivational map. It talks about, it gives you information, emotional information, but it's in numbers so that leadership can put their arms around it. It is extremely insightful. It helps you to go for what's most important in this organization to tackle first, because it would have the biggest impact.
So to go back on something that you said, so you talked about psychometrics. And so for those people that are watching right now that are sort of wondering, you talked a little bit about DISC and predictive index. Those are all psychometrics.
Yes.
What does that really mean? Like, so are we talking about measuring behavior and cognitive ability? Like, what are you saying is the differentiator between motivational maps and those?
Well, psychometrics it informs on the cognitive portion of our brain. And that's where our intelligence, our personality, how we process information, our memories, that's where all of that is. And that's why there's 98% of the assessments are out there, because it's used in the medical field. It's been used historically in the field of employment to see if people have the ability to do what the job needs.
So really what I hear you saying is that those measures, those assessments are really important, and they're really
Yes.
measuring something that's a little bit more stagnant. They're not always going to change. They're kind of to the core of who we are. How does that differ from motivational maps?
Okay. Motivational maps, like as you said, it's for a lot of people, you take a psychometric and you may not have to take it again the rest of your life because who you are doesn't change. The thing is, we all have learned behaviors and we may be acting in a certain way, but when we get under stress, we revert to who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how people say, well, it doesn't describe me. No, it doesn't describe you now because of your learned behaviors. But motivational maps is very, very different because it is measuring our preferences and emotions and motivations. What it's looking at is something that is changeable. Okay. Um, as I said, motivational map comprises of three parts. It's the past, the present, and the future. And what that means is our perception of the past. That's our experiences, the way we were brought up, the people who influenced us. That helps with our motivation. So if you had a bad experience more than once, you will tend to not want to do something that might echo that experience. So that's usually fixed. Then there is the present. And the present, our motivations are influenceable. Something can happen, someone can say something to you, and you go, yes, you're right. I can do this. And it changes your energy level and your motivation to do something. Now, another one is the future. And the future hasn't happened yet. So it's totally, totally variable. It's our expectations of the future that informs our motivations. So if we expect a dismal future, what we're looking at is maybe not wanting to do the things we need to do. I always say, university students, as far as I know, there are some of them who are there for the love of learning, but most of them are there because they expect upon graduation, or they used to expect upon graduation, to get a good job with good pay, and that they will make more than somebody who never went to university. So that's part of how that demonstrates that concept.
Sort of that optimism
Yes.
for the future. So because it really looks at and it measures a moment in time, which is what I hear you saying,
Yes.
It's something that I can take with frequency that I can then measure how my motivation is improving or maybe actually not improving. Maybe I'm going backwards. So what's the frequency that you recommend to your clients to take motivational maps?
I recommend that people do it at least once a year. I do it once a year.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm feeling confused, and where the confusion may come from is because we're complex human beings, it's very possible for us to have motivations that are struggling with each other. We want two different things. Okay. For example, if you look above us there is the symbol for the searcher.
Mm-hmm.
It's variety, it's purpose. In order to create change, which is what they're all about, they need to have things happen that would create change. If you are part of what we call the defender, where security is one of the most important things, security, safety, predictability, they don't want change. They're more change resistant. So, and you can have both. And if you have, I want change, I don't want to have change, it can create confusion. It can create indecision. It can create lack of clarity. And it stops you in your tracks quite often. Or you make a decision out of frustration, but it's not the one that would be the best decision. So when I do that, I see what's impacting my thinking, my brain, my subconscious, and then I can look at how can I reconcile these? How can I give both of them what they want and in what area? So
I love that you said that, because a lot of times when we're conflicted, and then it leads to procrastination. And the example that you gave, we don't really know why, but how wonderful is it to be able to take an assessment that then allows us to realize I have these two conflicting priorities that are in the top of my assessment that's really causing this conflict inside of me. So now I can really have an intelligent conversation around how do I fix this so that I'm not conflicted moving forward. So I love that.
And one thing you just said, which is really important, and I didn't make that distinction earlier, the psychometrics is about who you are
Mhm.
from the perspective of personality and intelligence and all of that.
Yeah.
Motivational maps is why. Why do you do the things you do? So the traits you have or the abilities that shows up in the psychometrics, motivational map is the driver of those abilities and capabilities.
I love that. That leads me to a couple of questions, but I'm going to take the first part of the question, which is saying that and realizing that there are people out there that are certified in DISC and Predictive Index and Colby, and Myers-Briggs, all the different, Hogan's, all the different assessment tools that are out there. And knowing that you can also be certified in motivational maps because it's an addition to, not a subtraction. What type of people is this good for to be a practitioner?
Anybody who helps clients achieve their goals. Because we know that nothing that we have in this world that has been created and is beautiful and is successful, it took motivation. And so if people know what motivates them, then they can take action to feed that motivation. If they know what demotivates them, they can take action to raise that. But they have a sense. And sometimes people are demotivated because they're in the wrong fields. They're doing the wrong job. And if you know that, you can say, okay, what is going to give me what I need so I can be a high energy person? Because motivation and energy is synonymous. And like I said, we use that terminology, but we don't think of it as in that terminology. Because how many times have you said, or someone in the audience have said, I just don't have the energy for that?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Yeah. What they're saying is, I'm not motivated to do that right now.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's a really great point, because you don't think of it as motivation. You just think of it as energy. But the reality is energy is it is motivation. So let's talk a little bit about the mechanics. So that's my next question. So tell us a little bit more. Like, you talked about the fact that motivational maps focuses on the past, present, and future. What are the other sort of technical things with motivation maps? Like, how many motivators are there? Do they have categories? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Motivation, the core of the motivational maps is the 9 motivational levers. Let's call it that for simplicity's sake. And they are organized into what we call clusters.
Okay.
Now, the 9 motivational levers we all have them. We just have them at different levels of intensity, but they're within us. And those levels of intensity can move up and down depending on what's happening in our lives, what's happening in our country, what's happening in our jobs. Okay. The top 3 is what we call, those top 3 is what we talk about a lot, because it is responsible for 60 to 70% of your unconscious behaviors, decisions, and actions.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a huge percentage of behavior.
It is. And the lowest also has an impact on our worldview, how we see the world. So those are 4. We can talk about all of them when we're doing a debrief. We can talk about those depending on what the map looks like, but everything is tailored towards the person who took the map, so we can give them the information they need to look at themselves. Because you know what? We don't make up any of that stuff. The motivational map is like holding up a mirror to this person so they can see themselves. And that's why 95% of them says it's accurate, because now they can say, yes, that's how I've been feeling. Yes, I wondered. I didn't know. This is insightful. This is validating. Those are the kinds of comments that we get.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you mentioned that there are 3 clusters. Could you share with us what those clusters are?
The clusters are what we call the relationship cluster, the achievement cluster, and the growth cluster. And the clusters, it describes how you communicate, your risk tolerance, a lot of characteristics out there, but it also shows you or tells you how others experience you.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah. Whereas the motivational, the 9 dimensions or the 9 levers are telling you what's going on inside. So you also get to see how people may be seeing you.
I love that. Now, I remember when we were talking before, you mentioned something that was really fascinating to me about the uniqueness of motivational maps. I mean, you gave a stat. I don't want to mess it up, but I think you were saying, I'm going to paraphrase and you correct me, that there's over 1.7 million variations.
Well, the permutations can it is huge. I've calculated it. It was over 1.5, but now I say it's just over 1 million for simplicity's sake, because I know for a fact it is.
So that really, it really shows the uniqueness of the individual when you're taking the assessment, because of the ability to have such a wide variance. No 2 people are really alike. It feels like a fingerprint.
I have not found, I've been doing this since 2013, and I have never found 2 that are identical.
Wow, that's very cool. So I'm really excited. I have some more questions, but I'm going to jump to this really quickly. I'm really excited about the fact that you're going to be having another certification class this quarter. Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about the certification class, the structure?
Yes. Yeah. My certification classes are something that I'm very proud of, because you know that title, the Motivational Mastery Mentor, that's my goal for my practitioners. So it encompasses 13 weeks of weekly classes. So we have 13 classes over 13 weeks. Not quite. The first one is foundational. The first part is foundational, where we learn the basics of motivational maps. Okay, the adult map, as we call that. And then we have a 2-week period that is practical experience dealing in the real world, where my students have to go out and get a minimum of 5 maps done before we move on to the third one, where we are integrating the motivational maps into teams and corporations and how it can be used in that area. And then after that, my students, now my graduates, have access to exclusive advanced education from then on.
Yeah, and I love that. And I will say, full disclosure, I had the pleasure of taking the Motivational Map certification program with you. And my experience was really amazing. And I think the practicum piece, which is that 2 to 3 week piece in between the adult maps and the team maps, was really, really beneficial, because you're actually doing real prospective clients or friends or family, and it's a safety net. It goes beyond phone a friend. Before you even do the debrief with someone, Akila has you sit down with her and go over it, really helps you understand the points that you're not clear on. And then you're able to do that debrief with the person that you're doing it with confidence, because you've had a practice run. You've had that safe space to do it. And I think that's really essential for learning, because a lot of times you do a certification program and it's like a day, 2 day, or it's like a four days sort of thing. And you walk away not really feeling like you've had an opportunity of mastery, pardon the pun.
And you know what? That is one of the reasons, like, I love the team class. I find it exciting because there's so many new concepts and different ones.
Mm-hmm.
But the discussions, the worksheets we do, the application of those, and then the final of the case study, starting from the very beginning, you have somebody's interested, you go through the whole process from discovery conversation right through to presentation of your recommendations and report. And I just love that.
Thank you. I love that too. So let's go back to the motivational maps, which is the point of this session that we're having today, is really understanding motivation. So you made some really interesting insights. You talked about motivation as being really the mirror that we put up to be able to see where we are right now and how we're feeling. And you talked about the three clusters that really reflects how others sort of see us in the world. And then the 9 dimensions or levels of motivation that reside within us. What happens if I'm really demotivated? Can you see that on a motivational map assessment? If I'm struggling and I'm putting on a brave face.
And that is the other cool thing about motivational maps. It measures. And James Sales was a genius, because I know of no other assessment that does motivation and measure it to give you a number. Now, here's the difference. Again, psychometrics compares you to other people, a cohort. You're either smarter than somebody or not as smart as somebody. You're more, you've got those comparisons. With motivational map, it's all about you. How are you feeling in relation to yourself? We have the spectrum of 0 to 100. You can be 100. You can be 0. Thank heavens nobody is 0. But it puts you into one of 4 categories that says, and this is your sliding scale. In this category, you are vibrating with energy. In this category, you're happy. You're doing things that you love. But, these are the people who are producing at 100%, but they have more of a balance. They'll go home at the end of the day, whereas the people who are vibrating with energy have a tendency to be workaholics. They have a tendency for burnout. And then we have the area, which is saying, hey, this person is starting to get disengaged. I'm starting to get disengaged. And it applies not just to work, it applies to other things, because we have people who use it in relationship coaching. And if they can see that and they give it to both parties, they can talk around that. And then there is the last category, which is the very disengaged. So we have the very disengaged, the disengaged, the engaged, and the highly engaged.
I love that. And so it also brings up a point that when you said about measuring, because a lot of times when people are coaching or they're consulting with companies, the big question is, how do I measure the work that you're doing? And with motivational maps, from what you're saying, it sounds like we can really measure someone's progress. If their motivation or rather their energy, to use it as both motivation, has increased or decreased. So there's a measurement that can be taken that you can see the progress for someone.
Well, let me give you a quick example. There was one lady I was working with, and her first motivation map showed that her motivation levels was at 11. So that was in the very disengaged. I coached her for 4 months. We talked about it. And she started taking action, things that made her feel more confident and all of that. At the end of 4 months, we did it again. Her motivation map was 61. That's
That's a huge jump from 11 to 61. Wow.
And so, of course, her productivity increased. She felt better about herself. She didn't feel as stuck. That's the power of motivational maps.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love that because it really shows that there's a way to make this measurable and actually show progress, not only for in the workplace, as you said, but also personally. For me to be able to take it and really see where I am right now and be able to work with someone that is a practitioner like yourself to be able to then move that needle forward for myself. So I really love that. One of the exciting things that Akilah is going to offer all of us is that at the end of this session, there will be a link to an ability for people to win a prize. And that prize will be a motivational map assessment and a one-on-one coaching with Akilah so that you can have this transformative experience. The other thing that we're doing, we're calling this series Mapping on Wednesdays, so that each Wednesday we will be talking to a practitioner of motivational maps so that you can experience how they're using it. Akilah just alluded to the fact that there are people that use this for relationship coaching, for pair coaching, for health and wellness coaching, for leadership coaching, for team coaching. I mean, it's actually endless what you can actually use this for. And so we are going to be interviewing different practitioners on Mapping It Out Wednesdays so that you can get an opportunity to really learn how motivational maps are used, what these wonderful practitioners are doing, and then maybe two things. One, you might get excited about joining the next session as a practitioner, or you might meet an amazing coach that you will be able to work with who is right in the wheelhouse of what you want to improve in your life. Akilah, in our next just few moments, is there anything that you'd like to share with everyone, and also share the date for the next class? Yes, thank you. English.
Our next class starts on March 18th. And what I would like to share there is for our practitioner, what this tool gives them in today's market is so crowded with consultants and coaches. It just exploded in the last couple of years, right? Especially since COVID. So it gives our practitioners a chance to stand out, to do something different. They can help employers actually listen to the voice of their employees, what it is they want most. So it gives them an opportunity to stand out. It gives them an opportunity to serve their current clients better because they now have something that will speak at the emotional level. Because when we talk about the kinds of assessments, as I said, a psychometrics is about who you are. Kolbe, what I respect, is about how your brain processes information. And then motivational map is why. Why do you do what you do and how? And to me, that is the gateway to self-awareness. I've used, my first Kolbe was done in 1997, and I redid it again in 2015. Hasn't changed much. I think it was one or the other. But the fact is, I have this matrix. I'm an assessment nerd, okay? I've never met an assessment I didn't take. And I created a matrix of my motivational map, my Kolbe, and my DNA behavior. And so I look at it and I go, okay, so this is impacting this, and this is what, yeah, that's who I am. I want to be as self-aware as possible. So I'm making my decisions. It is not coming from my subconscious, which is more than likely one of the voices you have in your head who's at your board.
Yeah, I love that. So I see in the comments someone said it's all that they use it. I apologize because it doesn't say who it is. It just says LinkedIn user. They use it for entrepreneurial coaching, which is very cool. So I'm wondering if that's one of the practitioners we're going to get to meet in this series. So that's pretty exciting.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah, that's really exciting. So first of all, I want to thank you so much for your time today, Akilah, to be able to share the knowledge that you have. I want to tell everyone, Akilah's not going to go away. She is going to be part of the interviewing process of these amazing practitioners that we're going to be meeting every Wednesday on Mapping It Out Wednesday. We'll make sure that we have a link tomorrow for next week's, and we will roll out who that surprise person is next week. If you're interested in winning one of the assessments and one-on-one coaching, I'll have that in the link for you to be able to, in the comment section, I should say, for you to be able to fill out the form and win that chance. And then Akilah has the next practitioner certification class, March 18th. Is that what you said, Akilah?
March 18th, 2 p.m. Pacific time.
Okay. And then you were going to say something before I...
No, I just wanted to be sure that people did understand that the map and the debrief is a raffle.
Yes. Yes. And it will close on Friday because we're going to be doing a new one every week. So keep that in mind, that there'll be a new one every week. So as you meet the new practitioner, you'll have another opportunity to win that map and that one-on-one coaching with the master herself, Akilah Davis. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for attending. Again, there will be a replay, and we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday for another Mapping It Out Wednesday. Bye for now.
Thank you very much, Marie, and thank you, everyone, for attending. Bye-bye.